Welcome everyone. Thank you so much for being here today. My name is Ellen McKay and I'm here with Yoga for Caregivers. Today I thought we would talk a little bit about props and how you can use them in different ways. I'm going to go through all of the pretty normal yoga props that you might see in our videos or videos that you might watch online or even classes that you might participate in. Most of these are pretty reasonable, and thankfully yoga's pretty widespread now, so you can find them in most places. Lots of different stores sell them. You can definitely buy them online, and they can be really useful in a practice. If you enjoy moving your body in these kinds of ways, they can add a lot of extra support. So let's just go through these props real quick. This is a yoga strap. It's exactly what it is, just one big strap. A lot of them have some kind of connector on the other side. So this one has a little D-ring on it. It's really useful if you're going to be needing to connect or make a big loop for some reason, which we can go through. I'll show you how to use it in a moment. So this is a yoga strap. Again, pretty inexpensive, can be really useful, but you don't have to go buy a yoga strap. If you don't have one and you see someone using one in class, you can use a dish towel. One of our great teachers, Sonia, she uses a dish towel a lot in her classes because it's so easily accessible, and most people have something like a dish towel or hand towel, something like that. That can be a really, really useful tool if you don't have a yoga strap like this. Then there's yoga blocks. They come in different shapes, different sizes, different weights. So they have like cork blocks or wood blocks. These are just kind of foam blocks. I like these because they're lightweight, they're easy to use, and again, they're pretty inexpensive. If you don't have blocks, you can always use folded up towels. Sometimes we use them as support from kind of bringing the floor closer to you. So if you don't have blocks, but you have hand weights, that can be really useful. So here's some blocks, and it's always good to get two. Most of the time they come in a set of two anyways, just so you have one for each side if you need it. And then we have these yoga blankets. You can search yoga blanket and they'll probably look something similar to this. These are really useful because they fold really well, which is great because you can use a yoga blanket in all different ways, all different sizes and different shapes. But again, if you don't have one of these and you have like a big beach towel, that's always good, or a blanket that is thinner. So this blanket isn't very thick. That allows it to fold nicely and also gives you lots of support. So I have two of those, but you can usually get away with one. And then there's a bolster, which is such a lovely yoga prop, but this one definitely is more expensive. You can find more reasonable rates, but they do vary a lot. Again, in size and shape. I have two. This one is a little bit thinner, which I like for certain things. And then I have one that's a little bit thicker that I like to use for other things too. Some are more dense, so some are a little bit squishier, some are more supportive. Again, it kind of depends on what you like. But if you don't have a bolster and you don't want to invest in a bolster, you can always use stacks of blankets or stacks of towels, and they do just the same amount of work, and it's definitely more reasonable. So you kind of choose what you love and what you really need more support or want more support or enjoy more support in. Getting a bolster for me was a gift to myself because I love restorative yoga so much, and it's just really useful to have. So let's go through a few different ways on how to use these props in a class that you might participate in, and maybe they don't have props for you to use, or you just want a little extra support. So let's talk about the strap first. Strap is so great to, this is kind of like my go-go gadget arms, is my strap, because it just lengthens your arms out a little bit more. So for instance, if we're doing seated work and you let's go into this shape. So bend one leg and have the other leg straight. And maybe we're thinking about tilting forward. There's never any pressure to reach your hands towards your toes, but sometimes you might feel like you want some connection between your foot and the rest of your body, just to kind of bring it together. You can use your strap, your dish towel, whatever it is you've got, wrap it around the bottom of the foot, and you can kind of pull on the strap slightly, which helps to open up through the chest and have that full body connection. The foot, the leg, the torso, the arms. So let's stay here for a few more breaths. Nice full breath in and out. And if you're practicing in a chair with us today, same kind of thing. Take the strap around one of your feet, pull the toes up towards you, take that little lean forward. Breathe, breathe, breathe. Sometimes when we use the strap, our shoulders tend to kind of bring up towards our ears. See if you can soften that space. Good. And come back up. Good. Switch it out. So another thing that happens sometimes when we use a strap is it makes our hands sore because we're kind of squeezing really tight on it. So I like to take a wrap. I wrap it around my palm, and then I wrap it again around my palm. So it's really the strap that's holding itself more there than my hands have to squeeze. Inhale again, lift up tall, exhale, take it forward, soften those shoulders, find your breath. Good. Straps can be really useful for any of these seated forward folds. If you like that extra connection, if you like that extra support. Let's take 2 more breaths. Good. Inhale, come back up. Release that. Let's give it a little shake. Shake the legs out, shake those hands out. Good. Okay, let's talk about blocks. I like to use my blocks in a few different ways. And seated, they can be really helpful. So if you prefer to sit on a mat, but you feel like your knees are kind of up toward your armpits and you can't quite relax here, adding support with blocks can be so useful. You can kind of slide them underneath the outer thighs and bring some support so they don't feel like they're kind of hanging in the air there, which can add tension to back and hips and leg muscles. So as you adjust and move that support, sitting in this shape might feel more comfortable for you. So that's one of the main ways I like to use my blocks to support my legs in this kind of seated shape. Another great way is if we're doing some movement on the mat. So especially if you're having like a knee down or doing some leg stretches here like we'll do, it's a great way to bring that floor up to where you are today. So let's take the right leg forward. I like using my blocks, especially on the highest height when I'm getting started. And you can take a little movement back and forth, and those blocks can kind of walk with you forward and back. But just kind of knowing different ways to use these props can make them be way more useful to you, whether or not they're calling for them in the class you're taking. Good. And if you feel like you want to, you can always shift those blocks down to a shorter size. Good. Let's do one more, kind of forward and back. Great. It's a little more of a gentle process on helping your body soften and relax. Let's take the other side. So left foot forward. Start on that highest height and take it back and forth. I think using props can be a way more gentle way to approach the physical practice of yoga. It just kind of gives you that nice little support. And why not? Why not take some extra support? You're working hard, you're doing a lot supporting others. So give yourself some extra support when you can. Good. And if you choose, maybe you drop it down to a shorter option, moving back and forth. Good. Fantastic. Good. If you're seated in a chair, this is also a really great way to use those blocks out in front if you're going to do a forward fold. I'll just show you standing. So if you're taking a wide stance or doing a wide-legged standing forward fold, or if you're seated in the chair and you have the legs out wide and you want to fold forward, so find that tip in the pelvis, but the hands aren't quite comfortable coming all the way down to the floor. So we take that block and we use the hands here on the block. Again, it kind of allows us to gently ease into these stretches, into these shapes. And if I want, I can lower it down 1. I can lower it down 2, all the way to the shortest height. If I want it even higher, here we go. I just stack them on top of each other. That's why it's always great to have 2. So let's stay here for a couple more breaths. Kind of finding your height, working with those blocks. One more breath. Good. Bend the knees. Hands can come to the thighs. Press your way back up. All the way up to stand. Fantastic. We'll set those blocks to the side. And let's talk about blankets. Blankets are great for making the mat a little cushier or the floor a little more cushy. So if you have some sensitivity for your knees, and we're doing some different knee work or some different floor work, you can always take that blanket underneath the knees for some extra support. So let's do a couple of cat-cow rolls here. Hands underneath the shoulders, knees underneath the hips, feeling that nice padded sensation underneath the knees. Inhale, bring the chest a little forward. Exhale, round the spine. Good. If you're seated in your chair, you can take this blanket and have a seat on it. That'll raise up the hips a little bit and maybe give you some more access to this movement of the spine. Good. One more. And round. Nice. Another great way to use this blanket is for something to sit on. So if you're in your chair, you might already be sitting on it. But like I said, it's a great way to lift those hips up a little bit higher. If this idea of sitting cross-legged is not comfortable, use those props. It might really make a huge difference. I know for me, as I sit on the blanket, it lifts up my hips. It helps my low back feel much more comfortable, much more at ease. Legs, hips, everything just feels more relaxed, which is what we're looking for in these supported practices. Lastly, if you're choosing to practice on a mat, these blankets can be great for pillows. You can use them to cover yourself up if you get a little chilly at the end of practice during our relaxation section. And lastly, we'll talk about the bolster. It's like the dessert of yoga props to me. So my favorite way to use the bolster is to bring it underneath my legs when I do my relaxation pose at the end of my class. So maybe I choose to use the blanket here underneath my head, have the bolster here underneath my legs, and I just lay on back and support. If you're in a chair, you can bring the bolster to the floor and set the soles of the feet on it. That can be a great way to kind of elevate the feet a little bit, elevate the legs. Again, just kind of helping you find more peace in the body, more relaxation, more support. So find your most comfortable position here for Shavasana, for a relaxation pose. Maybe you're choosing to use one of those props or more. Sometimes props are thought of as things that we use because we can't do a traditional shape. And I just want you to kind of wash that out of your mind, because the real reason to use props is to bring the yoga to you. Bring the pose or the shape to how your body is feeling today. I love using props. I think it's a really great way to encourage students and yourself to listen to your body and know that it feels good to make choices that are most beneficial for your body today, which is different than tomorrow and different than yesterday. Taking a nice full breath in and then let it out. Feeling the support of the props underneath you, whatever you're choosing to use. And thanking yourself for listening to your body today in this moment. Knowing that you spend a lot of time taking care of others. And knowing that you did a great job by taking some time to do something for yourself, to support yourself, show your body, mind, breath some love today. Noticing the body may relax even more as it feels that support. Thank you so much for being with me today.